Supervision is all about relationship. Welcome to the video tutorial on employee supervision. Let's see what it has in store for us. Moving on to understand the course overview, well, we will definitely start with the introduction and we will move on to understand the physical characteristic and the behavior pattern of a person who exhibits effective employee supervisory skills, and why is it important not just to carry the body language and as well as the spoken communication each time you're talking to your subordinates or your team members. Moving on, we will further understand brain dominance and the learning style of a human being. Like, not everybody is a visual learner, not everyone likes auditory learning, so we will technically talk on those terms. Different learning styles on similar pattern. Feeling contribute towards your behavior. What are the feelings and emotion that contributes the behavior, and behavior in turn will move out to be an action. Feelings in turn move out to be behavior, and behavior will move in to become an action. To further talk about employee supervision and the case studies with few specific examples. Profiling of employees, well, it is imperative in an organization that I profile people basis on communication skills, or maybe basis on the previous work experience the person carries, or anything specific the organization has in aligned with the objective of the department and as well as the objective of the organization. Moving on, personality type worksheet, a typical questionnaire that we have designed, and it is more like a do-it-yourself activity, so we recommend you to do it at your place, at your home. Moving on to become further talk about how to deal with different personality type. Like, it's very important to understand that the personality of not just the employee but the personality of person who's behaving more like a team member in the organization, in the department, plays a very effective role. Moving on, encouraging behavioral change. Well, we do certainly encourage the behavioral change if somebody is in not so a great mood. Moving on to a happy mood, because happiness can create wonders. So this is it, and let's begin with introduction and further define employee supervision. Like I said, supervision is all about relationship. Well, they are effective supervisory skills. Not everybody is an effective supervisor. So what are the different supervisory skills? Active listening is one among them. To talk about the redirection of feedback, and in between the active listening and redirection to feedback, it is very important how I align the feedback to that particular individual or the employee. To understand employee supervision in general, in a whole, well, it is basically an art or a tactful way of win-to-win situation, or a winning relationship with your subordinates and to get your work done easily. So this has nothing to do much with management or leadership, because those are two different technical terms, and this is an art by itself. Moving on to further understand physical characteristic and behavior. Well, the three pictures depicting three different behaviors. What would you like to portray and display a body language next time when you're supervising somebody? I would really like to hear in the comment box below, so do drop in your message and we will like to initiate the discussion. Moving on, brain dominance and learning style. Like I said, it is very important to understand different learning style of human being, because unless and until you understand the learning style, you will not be effective enough to get the work done from the employee, and as well as the productivity of the employee might halter. For same reason, if a person is auditory and you are a visual person, and the feedback that goes to the auditory person is more on visual terms, the person is not receptive for the feedback initially to begin with, and neither the person would work it in a very constructive manner. So understand the learning style, the behavioral style of a person, and that can happen only through profiling or maybe with constant interaction and discussion. So if you would like to further explore on this particular topic, maybe you can learn through a little bit on specific, or maybe you can watch our future videos to understand how do I identify the learning style of a human being. To begin with, left side function and right side function. Well, these are the two different brain functions which heavily display and talk about the personality type of a person. Left side brain function has lots to do with your logic, reasoning. So a lot of men fall in this category of left side functioning, and women fall in the category of right side functions, because it has to do heavily with emotions, and women are truly associated with emotions every time. So moving on to further understand different learning styles, visual learners and auditory learners. I just picked up two, but we do have kinesthetic learners as well. That is anybody who can get the touch and feel of a learning process fall in the category of kinesthetic learning, and visual learners, auditory learners are heavily like across, and we could also be combination of these the things that we have mentioned here, visual learners or the auditory learners, or you can be a combination of kinesthetic or a visual learner as well. So talk about visual learners, anybody who likes viewing things and who can only learn things when looking at the pictorial form of it, or maybe colors, diagrams, or schematic way of learning fall in this category. Auditory has to do with listening. So if you always felt that YouTube has helped you to learn certain aspect or certain concept, you might fall in the category of auditory learning. So to talk about my own self experience and my own observation, I'm more a visual learner and a kinesthetic learner, so more of a combination of kinesthetic and visual learning. Moving on, next slide, which is feelings contribute towards the behavior. An absolutely correct statement. Feelings are nothing but something that builds up in your mind and that moves on to become a behavior, and behavior in turn moves out to be an action. So each time you feel and each time you emote something, ensure that that's going effectively, ensure that that's going best, because that turn out to be a behavior, and behavior is an action. So it's very important that my action that I present either at the professional world or at my personal world, it is very important that I present myself with a thorough well-being association. Moving on, employee supervision case study. Well, the case study one we would like to discuss out here is to do with specific thing, that is two employees. If I have to take a random example, and there's one employee by name maybe John, the person keeps on complaining about things, unhappy about the situation, unhappy about the environment, and the other person is the supervisor, and the person is just not sure as to why John is not able to achieve the task, John is not able to achieve the productivity range. So it is very imperative to understand that what is the learning style of the person. So as a supervisor, it gets very important on a priority lines, that you understand the learning style of a person and then align the feedback accordingly. So there's one more case study that we will recommend you to visit our text tutorial on www.tutorialspoint.com, under which you have to go through a soft skill library and just type in the same topic, which is employee supervision. Do read through and share your observation in the comment box below. Moving on to the next slide, profiling of employees. Like I said, it's very important, and I wish this slide would have been a little more further before, because learning style can only be categorized or probably can be labeled only when I know somebody as an employee. That is, I profile the person basis on different parameters, different specific requirement and specific department needs and the job aspirational needs as well. So it's important that I categorize the person and then align myself in terms of not just the association, but every communication that I converse with this person is in lines with the learning style of a person. Moving on, personality type worksheet. Well, basically over here it is more like a do-it-yourself activity, and I would really want you as a supervisor understand the strengths of a person and understand your strength as well. And then moving on to understand the areas of improvement of the specific person, then link it with the fact what the learning style of the person is. Before this, you have to profile the employee as well. So it's more like a do-it-yourself activity. Do share in case you feel like for a discussion and any observation that you want from us. Moving on, how to deal different personalities. Well, this is something more of an exposure that can help you gain this as an experience, because you cannot master it in one go. You cannot master it with one work. You cannot master it with one study, and neither with one certification. So one important statement that I would like to leave here with a complete thought to be placed on is you cannot give a generic approach to everyone. You cannot label someone basis on the experience. You cannot go by the previous experience with the same person. For example, each time a person by name John takes a leave and each time he has something critical information to convey, you cannot always label the person stating that this person might not be in the requirement lines of the important thing, which is as simple as that a leave on critical basis. So you have to each time, you know, tackle the case as if you're tackling it for the first time, and you cannot carry your experience as a supervisor with communication with John to the next person. So next time ensure that, you know, we do not carry, because it's so human to carry ourselves with regard to, you know, labeling the person and our previous experience with this person. Moving on, encouraging behavioral change. Well, very important, because unless and until the motivational needs of the organization is not matched with the individual motivational needs of a person, they cannot achieve what the organization is looking out for. Every greatest organization today, you name an organization, they were able to achieve success, they were successful basis on only few factors, which is, you know, the behavioral change that they drive, and this has to do purely with the culture of the organization. So do have the, you know, conversation set across with your leadership team, with the management team, and come up with a, you know, status quo in terms of, you know, how you finalize and drive culture in the organization. And one thing to make sure, you know, culture can be driven not just by the heavy text or the content that we come up with, but the leadership team has to walk the talk. So each time I talk about discipline and punctuality, I as a leader, I have to be disciplined and punctual enough in the organization to drive that as a culture, because only then that can be inherited and instilled in the employee. So this is where we have to really ponder upon, and this has to do purely with our own personal behavior. Like, you know, I keep saying this almost in all my discussions and a couple of video tutorials that we recorded here in the organization, that it is very important to have a breakthrough experience. Soft skills cannot be practiced only at workplace, it has to start back home. So I need to be, of course, disciplined enough back home. I need to respect my elders. I need to be taking care of, you know, managing my time, and that will be translated completely at workplace. So this is one example that I like to quote out here. Moving on, conclusion with only 3 points to take away from this employee supervision. It is all about relationship, it is all about win-to-win situation, and the different, you know, supervisory skills that we've discussed, that is active listening skills, feedback mechanism, how I align the feedback basis the learning style of an individual, and to move on, how I redirect the feedback to. Thank you for watching, and do leave the comments in the comment box below.